come here. Let's talk about something really quick. So I did a video recently talking about hip hop hypocrisy. That sounds so wild, but the hypocrisy of hip hop, and specifically what I honed in on, was Jay-Z and J. Cole's conversation around growing up, maturity, picking your battles more or less. The decision to apologize and whatnot. And there was so much rhetoric around the culture and all of these different things. And one of the points that I brought up in that video was specifically around the punishment for J. Cole's decision to apologize versus Kendrick's appreciation to do business or work with TDE, was it TDE Punch? With the TDE founder that used to run through the town and rob people. And the way that Kendrick's father and the founder of TD knew each other was because his pops would pay this hood tax of feeding him food so that he wouldn't uh, rob the establishment that he worked at. Such an interesting conversation and a lot of different perspectives, understandings, and hyperfixation on that point, right? There was someone that spoke to my misunderstanding of what happened in that space. But I think that we kind of spoke past each other because my point was not about the validity of his experience and if it was right, wrong, or anything of the sort. It was more of, I don't know people that do business with shady people. Like if dudes get too grimy in the hood, dudes don't mess with them. Because foul begets foul, evil begets evil, right? Like if you can't predict what somebody going to do, you don't really do business with them. And in psychology, right, there's this thing that they say, the best predictor of future behaviors are past ones. So if you move a certain sort of way, my expectation is that who you are will come forward at a nasty time, an unprovoked time, an unreasonable time. And this is what we are seeing happen in the case of Pooh, Shiesty and Gucci Mane. So please have a seat. But first and foremost, thank you all so very, very much for coming in, entertaining, engaging. Whether we agree or disagree, this is a space for us to just converse. And again, if I don't agree with you, I'm gonna tell you I don't agree with you, and I expect respect and that sort of thing. And my hyperbolic delivery does not mean that this is how I may it feel about people exclusively or exactly. I don't actually think that Kendrick is a bitch. I kind of was doing that to piss y'all off because it was funny to me. So forgive me for my rage baity kind of tendency, but I also am looking at Kendrick like, outside of throwing insult, I still think that he's a weird guy, but to each their own, right? Um, and I want to have this conversation not because I'm trying to convince you, right? I think that it's important to recognize that the internet has served a big kind of support and identity for certain people at certain stages of their life, right? We're watching this whole movement of the manosphere and that sort of thing, and we're starting to understand the impact, right? Like there's not a lot of people that are only coming to the internet for entertainment, but they're coming here for enlightenment. They're coming here for empowerment. They're trying to figure things out. So the conversation that I intend to have today is not about what you perceive to necessarily be correct, and it might not even be correct in my perspective, but I want to share a concept that I think will be valuable and important and something that you should carry with you. So we're going to start with the identity of the quote unquote real nigga in rap, right? And this idea of this rap culture that facilitates or circumvents this notion of what type of person is real and has the right to do certain things, right? So specifically, what I want to draw your attention to is that 2 weeks ago, we were having a conversation about somebody like J. Cole being performative, being manipulative, being disingenuous. And right now, the guy that apologized, I'm going to say this again, the guy that apologized, that committed what they would call rap self deletion, right now, his in pre sales, he earned $100 million. I'm going to slip a little clip in here of Jid talking about what happened when he sold Dreamville Fest. Take a look.
Public, but I mean, Dreamville sold Dreamville, and Cole looked out for everybody that was a part of Dreamville.
I heard Boss talk about that.
That's one of the most beautiful things in hip hop right there. That never fucking happened.
That's dope.
That
Yeah, that's
never
dope.
fucking happened, and it happens to the regard where if niggas on Dreamville that was a part of it don't want to do music and they just want to move on with their life, they would be good.
Damn. Oh, that good.
Be straight. Like, you do it because you love it, not because it's you trying to
feed your family.
Like,
Oh, you about to shoot a lot of videos. Word.
I'm just saying, if we want to speak to real shit in the industry, we want to talk about apology. Nigga, apologize 30 more times. Nigga, that is the greatest nigga on fucking earth. Wow. It ain't in this predatory ass industry, nigga, get up real fuck.
That's real stuff. That's fire.
That's how it and this ain't got nothing to do with that, but I'm just saying, like, yo, nigga fire. Was blessed in the most unimaginable, selfless. You ain't have to do that. I know hella niggas who sold their subsidiaries or whatever and ran off.
We are also going to have a conversation about how this is a guy that currently is just playing ball, living out his dreams. He was like, yeah, I'm getting old. I ain't got too much time left. And understand that the League of China, the Basketball League of China said, you coming here is going to bring us the notoriety that we need and create the attention that is good for us. Pooh Shiesty, on the other hand, who is signed to Gucci Mane and revered as a real nigga, him and his mans is currently doing under investigation. They are what we call locked up because it is alleged that they went to the studio and decided that they were going to use tools to convince Gucci Mane to sign the termination contract of his record deal. And what I'm watching unfold on the internet right now is a discussion on whether or not Gucci Mane decided to snitch. Because now we have gotten so far removed from logic and sense that people think that crimes are only investigated upon people snitching. Like, don't get me wrong, there is this robbery and kidnapping charge, right? Like that's a thing. But let me give you a little bit of insight in case you haven't heard. Pooh Shiesty is signed to Gucci Mane's label, and I believe it's called 1017. Long story complicated, Pooh Shiesty, like the name would suggest, right? The Shiesty mask and whatnot, like he's a pretty loose cannon. He gets upset. Apparently, he's had a history of pulling tools in the club and went to go buy some shoes and got into a scuffle and pulled the tool out on somebody else. And he was locked up. And he actually just got out of jail. What was it, 5 or 6 months ago? And he got out early on the conditions, of course, of some sort of restricted release. So what does that mean, right? We talk about probation, parole. What does this look like? What does this mean? And apparently, when he was released on house arrest with an ankle monitor. So what is being alleged is based on the fact that he was away from his designated spot, which is his home, and committing a crime. And Gucci Mane was not the only person that was subject to this moment of poor judgment, I want to say. Gucci was with an undercover cop who served as his security and another music label executive. And they were robbed. They were robbed and held at gunpoint and so on as well. Pooh Shiesty's dad was recently released, is what I'm understanding. He's been released on bond and on house arrest. It's giving he might be cooperating, but we don't know what's going on, so I won't put that on his badge. But yeah, when they decided to rob Gucci, the people, his Pooh Shiesty's co-conspirators, they posted the items that they stole on the internet, on social media. They posted it. And so the reason that I'm here and having this conversation is, again, this is a person who is looking at jail time, him and his friends. And what's tough is, right, like while everybody's focused on Gucci being a snitch, kidnapping and robbery with deadly weapons usually carries pretty significant charges. And if anybody else besides Pooh Shiesty is on papers or has been in trouble, yeah, that kind of gets tough. Did I mention that Pooh Shiesty's charges weren't state charges, they were federal charges. So this was a felony case that he was in trouble in early release. Moral of the story is, this is the guy that apologized. This is what he's doing. And this is the quote unquote real nigga of hip hop. Do with that what you will. Let me elaborate a little bit more, because I said some time ago as well that guys have a tendency to say things like single women keep women single, miserable men keep men miserable. There are a lot of gentlemen that are giving advice from places of what I think they have noted as honorable suffering. That there is this ideology that men are just supposed to be unhappy. And I'm sure as I'm saying that, it sounds familiar, because I am sure that each young man that comes across this video has heard sometime before that their happiness is not important. I hear that happen all of the time. But the problem is, unhappiness has a multitude of adverse results. You have things like addiction and substance abuse on the basis of not being happy. You have these moments of crashing out on the basis of not being happy. You have mental illness on the basis of not being happy. And what I'm saying is, you do not have to accept the idea of your misery being a part or necessary for your manhood. Okay? You are being exploited. A lot of young men are being exploited on the grounds that they are not happy. And what's worse is, the people that get the things that they need are still insatiable because they are unhappy. And worst of all, we are watching people that are living happy lives be dragged back into these miserable spaces with these weird connotations of what it is to be a real man, or what it is to be hood, or what it is to be a part of the culture. I am seeing people say that Gucci snitch, and what I'm trying to understand is, what are y'all doing? There are so many talking heads making comments such as, don't represent the street if you're not going to be street. Sir, the conversation of Gucci Mane being a certain type of street dude, I'm going to emphasize that when Gucci Mane was at his peak and when he got his charges and when he was doing jail time, I am going to let you know that this was a man that was schizophrenic, undiagnosed, and untreated. The version of Gucci Mane that the culture is trying to highlight is the guy that was struggling with substance and psychosis. I'm going to say it again. Substance and psychosis. He was in a spiral that was going to eat him alive. And what he did was, because he was able to get himself together by the help of the person that he chose to be his wife, his friends and his family, his support system, he got his help, he got his diagnosis, he got his treatment, he moved forward. And he started this label and started to move forward on the basis that, you know what, I am going to help people that were otherwise not like anybody else that would get a chance, that people would overlook, because most times they treat us like a monolith. If one person fucks up, we all fuck up. And this made me think about another thing, because I kept sitting with this frustration of the fail up pipeline of white people. When I think of somebody like the chick that was kissing, the HR lady that was kissing her CEO at the Coldplay concert, when I think about Robert Downey Jr., do y'all remember that time that he was on straight, like he was using and he was a mess? But he returned to sobriety. He came back. This is Tony Stark we're talking about. I just watched a little snippet about Steve-O, who was just abusing drugs for mad long. And he got to be a superstar of Jackass. but a superstar nonetheless. This fail up pipeline where they can make these mistakes. The lady that was having the affair, she was sitting up talking to Oprah. She wrote a book and people want to hear her story. And as I sat with the frustration of the fail up pipeline of white people, and I said, oh no, this is privilege, this is that. I sat back and looked at this moment and I said, this is a moment that he could have failed up. Pooh Shiesty was supposed to fail up. You already made enough mistakes, sir. This was your opportunity to fail up. Because when you came back out and they put your song out first day out, FDO, a couple months ago, you was on the Billboard Hot 100. People wanted to hear the story because you see, most of the people that's on the internet are not actually in the field and run the risk of you crashing out and losing everything that you are worth because you think that the tools that you used last season will be the tools that keep you in your next season. This was the opportunity to fail up and you stayed down until you self-sabotaged royally. There is some young man that I am hoping stumbles across this video and understands perfection is not a requirement. Accountability is. Please, please, please know the difference between entertainment and enlightenment. Some of these folks don't mean you no good. When you hear man math, when you hear rap math, when you hear this hypocrisy math, stuff like, oh, I want a chick, I'm going to marry a chick that's a virgin, right? But you run around and smash every chick in your path as much as you possibly can. What do you think is going to be left in your path once you get done lying to chicks, misrepresenting yourself, and quote unquote smarting them out? If you and all your friends believe that same pattern of thought, even if you do get to the person that you would qualify as unused, you do understand that you have trained the muscle of doing what you want to do, how you want to do it, when you want to do it, with who you want to do it, and you are going to sabotage because you have already built the conditioning to make you a bad partner. Mad math is, I am going to actively destroy the path in front of me and hope for a miracle while I'm walking on it. Be surprised at the destruction in front of me while I am holding the sledgehammer that's creating the destruction. Please, young men, please. This is the same way I talk to my brothers. Don't do dumb stuff and be mad that dumb stuff happens to you. This was an opportunity again to fail up and do better. And more importantly, do not let people trick you out your spot, your friends and the internet alike. I'm watching people have this conversation. I seen Gucci Mane go on live and try to defend how he was not a snitch. And I said, sir, and his wife, you could hear his wife in the background. I don't want to hear that. Because what does it matter? What does it matter? But that was another moment where I realized the significance, how the parasocial dynamic is rooted in that Abraham Maslow's thing of the need to belong. And I didn't realize the significance of it until I seen people, you gonna hear me talk about my favorite a few times. I heard people talk about Cole and say Cole fans must be so upset because he doesn't think he's the best. And it was like, wait a minute. Do you think that that's the only reason why we like J. Cole? Because of where he places in the scheme of hip hop? Are you listening to the music or do you just skim through it? Like, what are we doing that we don't understand that it's not just about that person being the best person? The person is the best to you, but then it makes sense because this is man math. This is what y'all do. It's like, yeah, only the best, only the best, only the best. And you are chasing your tail. You are chasing a waterfall. know if it's helpful or not. And I really genuinely hope it is, because my intention is not to permeate the brains of every single person that listens to this video, but to the right person that believes that because I'm not the best at something, I'm just not going to do it. Do not do that. Do not do that. Do not take advice from men that you do not believe are living the life that you see as fulfilling. And if you are going to come in my comment section and say anything, especially as a man, you have to preface any comment that you make with, I am happy. And let me tell you how I did it. Because if you can't tell me that you are happy, do not fight me on the discussion of what you've been doing that's counterproductive and what you're not doing to change that outcome. Please hear me when I tell you. Some men are trying to figure it out and they're doing their best. But the tough part is that when it's an imperfect experience, they are not sharing, they are withdrawing, and they are seeking advice and encouragement from places that don't mean them well. I watch these snippets of the manosphere. And when I tell you that those men that lead these conversations, the academics of the world, the all of the they are exploiting your need to be included, to be a part of something, and the woes and the desires that you miss. And you don't just enjoy the things that you like, but worst of all, when you have your chance to fail up, you make the mistake of crashing out, trying to make somebody sign a contract under duress that will end up ultimately being null and void, and throwing your life away behind people that have given you a false representation of what it is to be a real man. All I'm saying is, find the thing that makes you happy. As a matter of fact, let's end on this note. Tell me something that you as a man makes you happy. Full stop. I'll talk to y'all later.